Hello, hello. Here we are again, coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha, where the show for the thinking global citizen. So here we are. And my name is Aage, and I'm the host here. My co host Nori, she just couldn't make it. She told me to send her love because she had I think, a screw up on the schedule. She had a double schedule and it just couldn't get out of it. So we're going to have to muddle through without her, but hopefully we'll be okay. And now we are coming to you on 44 different platforms around the world, and one of them is the Conscious Awakening Network. Oh, guys, folks, you got to go over there and have a look because they have close to 50 different shows over there. And they talk about all the things that you and me need to know about. I spent some extensive time over there and I loved it, and I think you will too. So, okay, before I introduce the guest, I want to tell you also how you can get in touch with me and Nori. And you go to broadcastteamalpha.com and you go in to find the contact feature, and then you send us an email, and we'll get the email and we'll send it back to you with hopefully something that can help you out. So here we are, and I want to say a few things about our guest because most of you probably know her because she is everywhere out there. And we have Geraldine Orozco with us. And this is going to be interesting because it is rare to find someone that is certified in so many different areas of and modalities of the healing arts. She is the founder of the Bay Area Meditation Center. That is San Francisco Corporation. She also teaches meditation. She's a hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programmer, mindfulness stress reduction therapist, and she teaches Qigong. She's a master and certified in quantum energy healing and pranic healing. And here is something. She's also a DNA reprogrammer. Now, some of you might say, oh, come on, DNA, that's locked in. No, it isn't, folks. There's a new science that gives us a better understanding of the genetics, and that is called epigenetics. You need to look into it. That tells us that what we do, what we say, what we think, and what we feel can affect our genetic code. Our environment controls it. And I want to talk to her about that because this is something that people don't really understand much about. But I tell you, it's real. If you think you have a bad genetic marker, you can actually turn it off. Now, how about that? Anyway, I I also want to say that 10 years ago, she had an incredible experience that allowed her to become very psychic. And I want to hear about that also. Welcome to the show, Geraldine.
Augie, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, as always. You are so amazing and wonderful, and this is a fantastic show, and it's an honor. Thank you.
Oh gosh, could you say that again? That sounds very good. Thank you.
It's an honor.
uh,
Yes.
yeah, this is going to be an interesting discussion because you are so multi-talented. I don't think you have really anybody that is involved in so many things as you. You are probably one of the most busiest women in the world, ranking right up there with Nori. So, so now that I mentioned one thing when we talked on the phone before, and that is that everybody is concerned and they are interested in finding out more about this thing we call disclosure. And everybody kind of have their own opinion about the flying discs and the extraterrestrials and so on, but there's more to it than that. There's a spiritual aspect to it. Could we dive into that one a little bit?
Yeah, I would love to. It's such, and when you told me, I thought it was a fantastic, very important topic to discuss because
Yeah.
ET contact is actually not physical at all, and that's something that is going to be hard for us to grasp in our human mind. But it is part of the maturing process that the human race is now needing to come into as we move into a more non-physical realm of experience. Right now, we think that things are material, we think they're completely solid, but in reality, we are more empty space than we are matter or anything that is actually tangible and solid. And this is an extremely important foundational law of the universe for us to begin to integrate into our understanding of mind, body, soul, and how we co create our human experience. Right now, we're entering into the period 9, which is a new 24,000 year cycle in which we're beginning to experience a higher octave of human. Of the human experience, what we can call this matrix experience, this realm, this holographic system of experience. And what is happening in this shift is that we are becoming less matter. And in the process of becoming less matter, a lot of things have to come to the surface, right? Because what that means is that what has been concealed in the non-physical realms, which before we were maybe perhaps blinded from, either by our own self-ignorance or by the imposition of this construct, we are kind of ignorant to what actually exists around us at all times. We are actually surrounded by entities, beings. Everything is beaming with life and consciousness. So this is something that we are needing to really understand and return back to the self in order to begin to turn on the apparatus for that vision, which is the higher faculties. Those are the things that are being activated through this transitionary point at this time, and those are the ones that we are going to utilize in order to navigate. And perhaps you can say, in the old model, we were surviving, right? We think of survival mechanisms as the most primitive aspects of human, right? What do I need to do in order to survive? I need to feed myself, pay my bills, have a home, all of this idea that keeps us in this very consumerist, capitalistic concept of living. It's all about consuming, and it's all about giving power away to the external. And all of that is an inversion of natural order. We've kind of been in that dream state for a very long time. So as we're waking up consciousness again, we are coming and we are being asked to come back into harmonic order, which means to actually be more in communion with this non-physical realm, with our true feeling, our senses, which are of course the faculties that will help us navigate this understanding of this new world that we're entering into.
Yeah. But it's a different way of thinking, isn't it? And what would you say to somebody's brother-in-law out there and say, if I can't see it, if I can't feel it, if I can't eat it, if I can't taste it, throw it in the air and shoot holes in it, it doesn't exist. What would you tell him?
Well, the thing is that we spend most of our lives in a hypnotic state where we have become desensitized to even our own feelings, our own emotions. But
Mhm.
in the same way that we ourselves have deep emotions that drive our entire life, kind of like how we have parasites in the biome that make us addicted to sugar, and then we spend our entire life craving sugar. We literally build our work schedule to have snacks throughout the day. We have relationships with partners that are feeding into that aspect of ourselves. I mean, there's so many layers to that. Psychologically, we are subconsciously driven by these very powerful aspects of ourselves. And those are not things we can see, things that we are not conscious of. But as you can see, they drive our entire life. And this is a level of awareness that we're going to have to begin to start recognizing. Where have we been sleeping? Where have we been unconscious? Where have we become desensitized desensitized from the subtleties of our nature, of our true nature, actually. And so in fact, it's not a matter of seeing with the eyes, because our eyes has a very, very limited range capacity of vibrational frequency vision. It's a very small rainbow color spectrum of colors that we can see through the eyes. In fact, we feel, we sense, we know, we hear, we taste. We have 5 and many other senses, actually, that not many people speak of, that are actually part of this developmental ascension, you can say. And all of these senses are necessary in order to translate the language of the universe, which is frequency, right? Frequency as sound, frequency as color, frequency as feeling and sensations in the body through the senses. So in reality, we are a very infant race. We're very young, and we are going through the process of maturing into really learning how to use these bodies for what they're actually meant for. And part of that is a process of becoming lucid, becoming very lucid, which means becoming aware of yourself in the waking state as well as in your dream
I thought this
state.
was of the people.
So if you can't remember what you did yesterday, at 4 o'clock, right before you went to dinner or something like that, you can look at a lapse of moment where you completely lost consciousness. You fell back asleep. You have no idea how you got to your car, how you got home. You really don't know. And that lack of awareness is exactly where we desensitize ourselves from this subtle energies that are necessary to understand and translate these worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, because if we also look at the capabilities of people under hypnosis,
Think about
they can do things that is totally or nearly impossible to do otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. As a matter of fact, hypnosis has been used for centuries for surgeries. I mean, open surgeries that people were hypnotized, and before we had the advanced anesthetics and things like that, that's what we used for surgery. So the power of the mind is magnificently powerful, and unfortunately, we have been brainwashed to doubt the internal voice, the internal sound. And it's been done systematically through religion, politics, governmental systems. I mean, even the food that we're eating and what's being promoted to us as food is, in a sense, desensitizing us, because it's full of sugar, full of salt, full of flavors, colorings, everything to not feel the true authenticity of something. And that is a problem that we have to heal from, which is going to cause quite a learning curve, because when we're actually addicts, is essentially what we've become. We are addicted biochemically through our senses, right? Biochemically through stress, through drama, through fear. We are addicted to those things, and we don't realize how deep those addictions are. But we are a human race that is going to have to go and sober up from that in a time when we are coming into artificial intelligence. And extremely advanced technologies that actually want to pull us away from nature rather than help us in returning back to nature.
Yeah. And I know hypnosis has been around for at least 3,000 years, and we have the evidence. In the temple in Abydos, Egypt, there is a panel that says, "He was healed by the words of another."
Wow. Yeah.
And I take that as being somebody talked him into a hypnotic state and he was healed.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
So, yes, there is healings that can do with hypnosis. You can actually do it that way too.
That's right. And if you go even further back, we are talking about ancient frequency medicine, right? Because what do we do with the sound? We are basically speaking and directing sound waves, which are encoded. It's encoded with geometry, with form, with shape, with color, in the etheric realms. So these kinds of intentions it's a sound medicine. So in that same way, we for many centuries, we used architecture to create structures that held vibrational frequency that were healing, certain structures that help people leave their body and practice lucid dreaming in their dream state in order for preparation for death, which is exactly what we're talking about right now. Our human race is having to be trained in that way again, because we are going to have to see what lies beyond the physical. And that's where we start seeing strange beings and all kinds of things.
Yeah. So when it comes to disclosure, the physical part of it, we see it everywhere. We see the ships and we hear the accounts of people that have been taken on board. But that spiritual aspect of it goes very deep. It's very often not even recognizable in the physical, is it? How can you help someone that maybe had a trauma from that? I know you do.
Yes. Yes, so I have a support group called hybridmother.com on my website, hybridmother.com. It's an international support group. So I'm working with like thousands of people from around the world that are having these kinds of experiences. What I've learned over the years is that there are different kinds of contact experiences, and it's important to understand the difference between them. Lights in the sky is one aspect of it. UFOs and UAPs and those kinds of technologies is an aspect of it. But a lot of what you're seeing is actually, it's actually Earth technology. It's extremely advanced Earth technology, which is going to come into disclosure very shortly here, as it's already coming up. And you're gonna understand that a lot of what we've been interacting with is actually our own government, perhaps the shadow government that has some of these hidden operational programs to create these advanced technologies. And so aside from that, there are many also governmental programs that experiment on consciousness and are interested in psychic advanced abilities of people. And so that has been targeted for a long time, also in the recruiting of these psychic people. And training in astral projection and astral practices. One of which lineage has been ET contact, where a lot of screen images are produced, and some of these experiences are artificially induced. Or they're screened so that it appears that you're having this kind of experiences, but in reality, you're interacting with the military. So those are the ones that seem to be more traumatic in nature. These are the ones that are leaving tremendous scars on the body, lots of really severe PTSDs and traumas. And there are many ranges of that. At the very root of these kinds of programs, we have a lot of more of these archetypal beings, such as draconians and reptilians, that are part of these darker government systems. How do I know that? Because interviewing thousands of these kinds of candidates that have these experiences are reporting that alongside government, they're also seeing reptilians, or they're also seeing draconian, so even little children, which you wouldn't expect to know such complexities of these experiences, are reporting such things. So it's very interesting to see that. On the other side of the spectrum, you have very high dimensional experiences. You have, light in the sky, but you're looking at less forms. You're looking at more light, more geometry, more sacred geometry. That being said, more of an etheric and extremely advanced technology. So there's advanced technology, and then there's extremely advanced technology, and those kinds of technologies seem to be more sentient. They are more organic. It is all telepathic communication. And those kinds of experiences tend to have a more positive experience. So we're looking at spontaneous healing kind of experiences. We're having experiences where we're learning, we're connecting with our realms, our higher aspects of ourselves. Beings, and we're being visited by these beings, and it's a positive experience, and it's expansive, and it's usually activating. So that would be the difference. So what I mean by activating, they have psychic abilities activated, they are healing, they learn things, they get like incredible downloads. So there is a very apparent shift from those experiences. So those are the differences. So when we're talking about working with healing, a couple things have to happen that are very powerful. Every single contact experience is part of human initiation. It is natural. In fact, every human should be having contact experiences, and they should be exploring the nature of those experiences for their own ascension, just as all ancient civilizations have done. Because all ancient civilizations have been connected to the brothers of the stars, the star people, the gods, the angelic beings, however names have been put to these beings of higher consciousness. We have been in communion with them since the origin of time. This is natural. And so when a human finally wakes up to a certain vibrational frequency point where they become aware of that and they remember, because it's my memory is a bioelectrical system. The bioelectrical system of the body, you become more conducive the more you begin to remember. It means that you're remembering your dreams. You're also beginning to remember your childhood and your past life experiences, traumas, whether it's in your family or whether it's in these kinds of experiences. Those memories start to come back. And the importance of them coming back is that we can work with them. And the emotional body is the most important part of your ascension, because the lack of mastery over your emotions is actually a way for us to be manipulated, targeted, and parasited by ourselves and also by others. So part of the initiation process of humanity is to learn how to become masters of their own energy. Their energy source is in their emotional expressions. So the release of emotions and the absorption of emotions from other things around them. So in these kinds of traumas, we want to take a look at the root cause. Most people that have in their bloodline, in their ancestral lineage, a tremendous amount of trauma, sexual trauma, physical abuse, wars, being in military for many generations. These are the kind of bloodlines that tend to have the majority of these kinds of traumatic experiences. And these are very powerful souls that are incarnated into these families in order to transcend and to end these kinds of parasitism in the bloodlines. So if you are a person that's remembering these experiences, understand you are actually the most powerful soul in your bloodline that has chosen to come to end them. And the ending of these traumatic experiences is the alchemy of them, to understand that in reality, we create everything. And that this is such a hard thing for us to understand, because we are brainwashed to believe that we live in a physical world. But in reality, everything comes from the subconscious. So if in your bloodline you have belief systems of unworthiness, fear, powerlessness for generations and generations, you will attract and embody and remember these kinds of experiences, especially through your dreams. So I'll stop there, and then you can tell me which way you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it appears to me like there may be millions and millions of people that have the experience of missing time or being abducted, being on the ship, or have extraterrestrial contact. So if somebody have a time when you don't know what happened, a missing time, ask your mom. Maybe she did it too, because these things follow, like you said, bloodlines too, don't they?
Exactly. And that's actually one of the most incredible parts that I discovered of my work over the past 15 years now, working and interviewing contactees and their families, doing hypnotherapy on the father, the mother, grandma, grandpa in some cases, that were willing to do these kinds of hypnotherapies, and discovering that they are all connecting with similar beings. So, for example, the whole bloodline is connecting with blue beings. They have some life, one life at least, or some memory, some interaction with these beings. So contact contact, psychic abilities, trauma, emotional patterns, memory in the fascia, in the muscle system, in the nervous system. These are all things that are passed down genetically. So these are very important to understand, and we tend to repeat those patterns because it's what we call experiential agreements. We have contractual agreements with these beings, and what that means is experiential agreements archetypally in our ancestral bloodline. So these are things that once we are aware of them, it's actually through the emotional body that we can heal. Because if you can understand what is the emotion at the root of that repeated trauma, you can begin to question what is the opposite of that. If the core belief is fear and unworthiness, okay, what does the opposite look like? To be worthy and to trust in myself, for example. So if you begin to embody that, you immediately, many things happen. Bioelectrically, you become more conductive. Okay, so your toroidal field, your entire energy system, which is a toroidal energy system, it's a field, it begins to move more fluidly. The more you release blockages and clear your energy body, the more you begin to spin in a more fluid way. And this moves the energy systems of the chakras. Now, the chakras are very, very important because each of your chakras is a portal to the planets of the solar system, which are also portals to your starseed lineages, which you have encoded in your DNA. So in dream time, we're navigating all our energy systems through the body. And these are things that we are learning to integrate and heal in our dreams. We have dreams. We become aware of everything that we have to work on, everything we have to heal, everything we have to face and alchemize. So that's the invitation.
Yeah, dreams. They may not all of them be just random. There may be a purpose for some of them, and it is up to us to catch on and understand what that meaning is. How can we best do that?
Yeah, so actually, how it works is the more unconscious we are, the more desensitized we are from our emotions, from our feelings, from our needs, the more convoluted our dreams are, the more abstract and the more symbolic they are. Okay. But the more you start cleaning up these kinds of fear based programs and blockages, your dreams become more lucid and you begin to remember exactly what you're navigating. Most dreams are usually here between the lower chakras. It's just you're just experiencing and repeating symbolically, archetypally, everything that you've been repeating for many lifetimes. So all the traumas of your past life, you might be experiencing those in your dream time in some way, symbolically or forms, or even through color, shapes, sounds. It can be very abstract. And your dream can seem kind of silly. It can be like something meaningless. But in reality, it's because our mind is kind of messy. So when you begin to clean up and quiet the mind and create some stillness in your nervous system by regulating your nervous system, what you dream starts to come also in harmonic order. And you begin to actually travel to different realms. You begin to remember past lives. You begin to navigate all kinds of things that you can recognize more lucidly. You remember them and you become aware of yourself in them. And this is your opportunity to do work in those dimensions, because those are dimensions. In your dream state, you're navigating dimensional planes through the chakras, through the planetary system of your chakras. Every chakra is a dimension that you are actually navigating, in the same way that every planet is a dimensional portal. So we kind of are becoming more lucid in the same way that you become lucid in the waking state. In the waking state, how do you become lucid? You remember yourself, right? Gurdjieff talked a lot about remembering yourself. And as you look at yourself and remember, where am I? Who am I? What am I doing right now? And if you make a very strong habit of asking yourself that, you're going to continuously bring yourself back to yourself and recognize where you begin and where others end, what belongs to you, what doesn't belong to you, and life starts to simplify, and you begin to come into your power. So this practice, actually, when you practice that 30 days, it begins to bleed into your dream state. And you start in your dreams, you're dreaming something, all of a sudden you begin to be aware of yourself. You ask yourself, where am I? What am I doing? And you begin to remember and realize that you're actually dreaming. So this is extremely important practice. And I teach a class on this. There's many techniques. There's everywhere from setting alarm clocks and also reminding yourself before you go to bed, repeating to yourself, I'm going to be awake. I'm going to remember to wake up. Even having a tool, a little symbol with you that can help you understand the difference between dream state and waking state. Sometimes I have my students put alarm clocks several times through the night so that they wake up in the middle of the night, ask themselves, and come into conscious awareness and fall back asleep. Because in that process of falling asleep, we enter into a hypnagogic state, which is a very extremely powerful state, which we are very, very suggestible. But we can regain consciousness in our dream state little by little.
Yeah.
So the human has like a tremendous amount of power when you become lucid. For what? In order to practice your free will. Because if you're sleeping in your waking state, you're going to be a victim of yourself, your own unconscious repetition, your karmic ancestral lives, and others. And the same in the dream state. In the dream state, we are parasitized by many things. We can be very parasitized by things. And we talk about the hybridization program. We talk about those seemingly abductions, and these kinds of programs where we are recruited by government for psychic abilities. So these are things that we can begin to regain our power, and really shift to the timelines that we're experiencing in life. But we are always very much in power and in control of ourselves.
Yep. Yes, we are. And sometimes we doubt ourselves. But everybody have a weak moment somewhere. And right now, this is our weak moment. We're down at the bottom of the hour. And for those of you that joined us late, we are talking with Geraldine Orozco. We've been talking about the spiritual side of disclosure. And from there on, we have covered a lot of things. And I want to, when we get back here, I want to talk a little bit more about extraterrestrial contact, because there's a lot more people than the one we know about that have had that. But a lot of people, they're afraid to talk about it because, their brother-in-law, he's going to think you're crazy. So just leave the brother-in-law alone. Of course, he's a good guy, but love him from a distance. Maybe you're better off. I would say a lot of people have had this. And maybe also you, Geraldine, are you still having contacts? I know you had some at one time.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, this is something it should be very normal. We should be navigating exploring our subconscious, integrating aspects of ourselves. And our dreams are actually where we're living alternate lives simultaneously. So, in the same way that we're becoming aware of ourselves in this life, we also have to become aware of what we're doing over there. We actually do a lot more in our dream state than we're doing in this waking state. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the answer to that is yes, I do still have experiences. It's important to integrate them. Whatever we learn from that, integrate it into the body, into the now, rather than don't get attached or identified with any one aspect, because we're everything. We are all and nothing simultaneously. So I live lives as Pleiadian, live lives as Arcturian, everything. We are everything. So it's important to continue moving in this ascension
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. And for those of you out there that like to get a hold of Geraldine, tell them your website again so they can get a hold of you there.
Yeah, my website, GeraldineOrozco.com, and also hybridmother.com, which is my support group if you are interested in sharing your experience.
Yeah. Now, hybridmother.com, that means also that you may have had an extraterrestrial presence, and ladies could have gotten pregnant from that by insemination or whichever way. And I know that sounds ridiculous to the guy on the couch back there, the brother in law, but no, these things happen. Some ladies have found out they're pregnant, 3 to 4 months pregnant, and suddenly the fetus disappears. So could you talk a little bit, maybe if you like to, about your experience and what can happen to people?
Yeah, so it happened to me when I was very young. I was actually a virgin at 16 years old. And all of a sudden, I started to feel, well, actually, before that, I had this experience of missing time, as you mentioned earlier. And I woke up all of a sudden, for one moment, walking home from work. Next moment, wake up in bed. And I don't know how I got there. I don't know. Nobody knows how I got home. And then I had very, very strange sick feelings. Go to the doctor. The doctor says, "What happened? Looks like you have been pregnant already." But I was still a virgin medically. So everyone was confused, not knowing what was going on. Next thing I know, I have a vision of a dream where a white light enters, touches my forehead, and from one day to the next, there's nothing. Okay. So, obviously doctors say, okay, well, maybe it was just some anomalous thing that some happened. We don't know what happened. They have no explanation for it. They say you're young, you're a virgin, maybe you have a blighted ovum, something like this. And it's just left like that because no one wants to question any more than that. But the interesting thing about this experience is that it's not unique. It's after talking to so many women from around the world, and men, by the way, they have very similar experiences. And it can be either when they're virgin or either when they're adults. But this kind of strange experience is always combined with these kinds of dreams, these dreams in which they are encountering white lights or beings. They're being introduced to little children, which is what happened to me in 2013. I was introduced to children that were absolutely mine, and it was shocking to see that. And I was very confused how it was possible that humans could be having children without them understanding that they're having children or even remembering. So it opened a whole new world for me. But the purpose of this world being open to me is for me to learn and understand and educate on sacred sex and the incredible creative potential that the human race has. That, in other words, we are not just creating in this realm, we are creating in many dimensions. And this kind of experience of becoming pregnant or having child, even for a man, giving their seed to make a life, is actually happening in the etheric bodies as well. And this energy, because it's the most powerful energy that the human has for creation, it's our sexual energy, which is our DNA. Our DNA is a holographic system that is a portal to all the dimensional layers in which we're basically inheriting for and many generations through history. And the importance behind that is that this genetic information, this DNA that is being used to create life, is a field. It's part of a field of consciousness. When we are disconnected from ourselves, when we are in fear, when we continue to procreate and to create and seed pain, suffering, and trauma into the bloodline, we are causing a lot of pain and suffering for the world. And we also contribute to parasitism. So in our world, we have a lot of inversions of natural order, which abuses sexual energy. In fact, the sexual industry is one of the largest industries in the entertainment, psychology, even food, fashion, everything. It's all based on the manipulation of our
Wow.
sexual desire, you know.
Hmm.
So that's something that we don't realize why that exists like that. Okay, because the manipulation of our sexual energy is how to control an entire human race without understanding their true power. In ancient mystery schools, our sexual energy was our primordial life force, and we lived to preserve that energy and to alchemize that energy into regenerative systems of healing our body, our mind, and accessing higher dimensional consciousness. In fact, women that were virgin were utilized as a direct vessel, as an oracle to connect with source and with all kinds of channeling of connecting to different beings and entities and cosmic consciousness. So the as you can see over the past several centuries, the divine feminine has been suppressed in such a powerful
Yeah.
way that talk about the womb, talk about it's been turned into a transaction, marriage, have
Yeah.
a child, and we don't even understand why we're doing it. We think it's to create the name, to keep the name. We don't understand what it means to keep that name in the family. But what we are inheriting is a reinforcement of a matrix that we are unconsciously reinforcing through our own trauma passed down into the generations. So the opposite of that would be the alchemization of our trauma, the waking up of consciousness and the application of our free will in order to create consciously and from pure love, not just unconscious creation and the shedding of the seed of life. So this is really important, and that's what the hybridization program helps us remember and wake up from.
Yeah. Thinking about what happened to you, that is why I have no problem what happened to the mother of Yeshua Betalachme. You know him as Jesus. I have
Yeah,
no problem with that.
yeah, hmm right.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the beauty of those that's why that exists. But
Mhm.
again, even that story of Jesus was completely changed, right? Until
Yeah.
we read the real texts, the Gnostic texts, or the Book of Psalms, all these ancient literatures that helped us understand the real hidden, the alchemy, the energy behind that, the divine, the meaning of the divine, of the virgin and the immaculate conception producing such a light like Jesus, which is what these schools taught. And
Hmm.
even Genghis Khan would utilize these kinds of ancient techniques, and then it was all hidden, these procreation techniques to create beings that are connected higher to
Right.
source, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there may be more of this also out there, and maybe they don't talk about it because there are some really extraordinary people that talk about an anomaly when they were born and things like that. So I I think you are probably not alone.
Oh yeah, no, there are hundreds, millions of women and men actually that have these experiences, and yeah. So and then of course we go even deeper into self-organizing systems, because
Mm-hmm.
this planet Earth has a self-organizing system where we unite with one another, which is not random. Everything is by resonance. Every single union that exists on this planet is by resonance, even the interaction with other beings of other systems,
Yeah,
it's everything is energy.
yeah. And I mentioned one of the other thing in the introduction. You talk about DNA reprogramming. This is dealing with epigenetics, and there is a science to this because our DNA is actually also advancing. Because I know there was a study done at, I think it was UCLA. They did some genetic research on indigo children, and they found that some of the junk DNA attached to the double helix starting to assemble itself and create a third strand. So there is some things happening here, and by DNA reprogramming, you could actually help some people that is worried about their genetics a little bit. Maybe you could talk about that.
Sure. So the purpose of DNA reprogramming is really to work with the field, with the holographic system that is projected from the DNA. Okay, so the DNA is essentially it's the all, and the DNA is the source of all life. And from there, we have certain genes that are turned on and off to create this physical vessel. Now, what helps us maintain the form and to produce this system of creation is the morphogenetic field. The morphogenetic field is the instruction manual from which form manifests into the physical. So it's telling the DNA to write the finger up to here and then stop. Right, so that is a complete system that is an intercommunication, and what we believe in our DNA to be junk is everything that we cannot connect from what we can't link, all the DNA that doesn't link to the actual 2% that's creating the physical matter. But Dr. Michael Levin, which is a fantastic biologist, I strongly suggest if you are interested into the deep science of this to check him out, because he is the forerunner to speak about this holographic system as a bioelectrical system of memory. And I discovered him because in my research of holographic DNA, what I saw was that there is a bioelectrical system that is the intercommunication between our DNA and this junk DNA that we think is useless, is actually the communication of our field. So your entire energy body is actually the holographic projection of your perceived junk DNA. It is organized in dimensional frequencies, every strand of DNA. And, the thing is that right now we're going from 13, 12 strands of DNA to 34, actually, is becoming available to us. Okay. So in the human physical body, we're using a limited amount of strands of DNA. But in the etheric body, we actually activate more strands of DNA based on the information that we begin to access in our dream states. Okay, so the more that we begin to access and recover memory, as I mentioned earlier, what is a dream state? The dream state, you are entering into other lives, other dimensions in which you are existing in. And the recovery of that memory is accessible to a body that's highly conductive. The more conductive you become, this is why the ancients talked about gold being so important, gold being the more highly conductive metal. And in alchemy, we talk about becoming gold. You see, there's all these references to gold. What are we talking about? When the body transmutes its lower energies into higher form in the pineal gland, we literally begin to create oil called chrism. This chrism that allows us to produce DMT is what allows us to enter into higher dimensional planes. And this is precisely the mechanistically what begins to happen is that your entire toroidal field begins to spin faster, and you begin to move in a more centripetal rather than centrifugal bioelectrically in the body. So all of these systems begin to turn on, and that is the activation of DNA. Now, what does that mean? Because your body is non-physical, it's really made of light. It's made of these photons and systems of light. How light bends through your body creates different geometric structures in the body. If your root and sacral and solar chakra are wide open and out of balance, you are most likely a centrifugal in the way that you're holding your energy. Also, the shape that you're creating geometrically with your body, the way light is moving is also a more simple form. But the more you become centripetal, the more you can move light through your body in a more symmetrical harmonic order. And we begin to create forms like, for example, the Merkaba, which is one geometric form that the body can take. And this is where you begin to activate higher strands of DNA, because it's a multidimensional system. Biochemically, we are producing chemicals that allow us to leave the body. Bioelectrically, we are becoming highly conductive. And geometrically, we begin to take on higher complex forms, geometric forms, which allow us to enter into higher dimensions. So that is the activation of DNA, and every human on this planet is having access to that now, if they want. But there is a segue here that is occurring, which is now the transhumanism, which is coming into our realm. And transhumanism is a very powerful agenda that is by design, in order to limit the human activation of that genetic system, that energy system. The more we implement technology and we become dependent on technology in a way that takes away from our harmonic order and our organic technology, this is where we are headed in the direction of self-destruction, essentially, and death and illness and all kinds of things in our timeline that are not preferable. Alternatively, coming into a more organic technology, which is everything I just discussed. This is the initiation. It's the initiation process of coming into your harmonic order. You unlock longevity, self-healing capacities, interdimensional awareness, mastery over your emotions, and your creative system. So you begin to project reality in a completely different way. You live entirely a different life than the person in a state of suffering. And so this transhumanist agenda is going to capitalize on people that are in fear and in separation. And basically, it's going to paralyze these kinds of organic systems. So that's something that we have to watch out for at this time. Pay very close attention.
Yeah, and luckily, not everybody did that thing to their arm about 4 years ago, so there will be still some pure humans around. In fact, the Supreme Court of the United States said that if you did that thing, then you are no longer a pure human. In fact, yeah, it kind of indicated that you may not even have the same rights as a pure human. So
yes,
this gets really deep. Go ahead.
It does get very deep. Sorry, Aage, sorry. It does get very deep. But I'm not sure it's necessarily about purity, because here's the thing. Something that we need to understand, because you have to pay very close attention to how things are said and what is being said, because you see, we have mastery over matter. Your mind has mastery over your body. It doesn't matter what you do to your body. You can alchemize your body, and that's something that we have got to take understanding and ownership of. We are not helpless and we're not victim in any state. And purity basically means undisturbed, untouched, pure authenticity. Okay, so you come back into your harmonic order, come back into connection with nature, come back into your pure authenticity. That's indisputable. No one can remove that from you. It doesn't matter how many chemicals you insert in your body. Of course, that's your choice, because you have free will, right? So we have to be okay with the free will of all humans to experience all potentiality. But the invitation is that they understand that once they recognize that free will, you can alchemize your body back into harmonic order. You can heal your body at any time. And the government will try to persuade you that you don't have that power in order for you to become dependent on even more systems. And right now we have even gene editing that is going to be going full force. And this is a very interesting time, because there's going to be on the good side, there's going to be fantastic solutions to many, many diseases in the world. Okay. But on the other side, we're also going to be seeing that this is information is also primitive, and that the manipulation of DNA, they don't understand that it's a holistic system, and that when you take something out, it creates a chain reaction in other parts. Healing, when done internally, is the complete restructuring back into harmonic order. Anything that is healed from the external, it cannot. There have to be connected systems. These are interconnected systems of consciousness. So, yeah.
Wow. Boy, they got deep. All right. Hey, we're getting down towards the end here. Let people know where they can get a hold of you, and tell them also about the things that you can help them with in the different areas that you work.
Thank you so much, Aage. So, yeah, if you would need some help with DNA reprogramming, if you have a blockage, if you feel a trauma or ancestral program that you just can't seem to break or work through, that is what I would love to work with you with. And we can get to the bottom of that and alchemize that. And my clients have pretty amazing shifts in their lives. They're changing, they're getting up, they're moving, they're changing their lives. And this is the important thing to do right now, especially as we move into this new era where many jobs are going to also be taken, and humanity is needed to find your true purpose. What is your true purpose at this time? Not as a worker for another system, but as a self-regenerative system. So these are things that we can do through hypnotherapy to uncover, what are you doing here? All healing provides your purpose. So when you heal, you gain your purpose. And then I'm teaching a class on emotional mastery on the 23rd. So if you're interested in that, you can check me out. And in March of next year, I'm going to be in Turkey and Greece with Portal to Ascension. It would be a wonderful joy to see you guys there. Just use my name, Geraldine Orozco, to register. Everything is on my website. And once again, thank you so much, Aage. It was an honor to be here.
Yeah,
I'm
and
grateful.
that they can find all that information on your website, right?
That's right. Yes.
And that website is that?
Yes, GeraldineOrozco.com.
Okay, that sounds good. Oh, man. There's so much out there that we need to educate ourselves on, and we think of it. I'm thinking of a question, and that is, if you can spend the last minute, tell people what is the most important thing that people need to know right now that you can think of.
Honestly, it's very simple to come back into harmonic order. Just train yourself to come here, be present here in the now. That's number one thing. And in the presence of here and now, we develop gratitude, profound gratitude for everything that we have, everything that is around us, so that we can see things as they really are. Because most manipulation and deception comes from our inability to see what is truly who we are and what we're doing. So that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been wonderful. So thank you very much for being with us. And I'm sure we will do this again. Now, you have a book coming out shortly.
Yes,
So say
soon.
something about that.
Yes, it's a very long time coming, but it's going to be a deep book about the really deep into these topics of the foundations of the laws of the universe and also creation, and talking on the hybridization program and also how humanity can come into their free will. So that's what the book is mostly about. And
Okay. Sounds great. Okay. Thank you very much. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. That'll help us a lot. And until next time, be good to each other.